Have you ever sat in your room, alone, and wondered, why do I feel so empty when I'm by myself? Or maybe you've thought, is there something wrong with me because I don't have constant company? These are questions many of us face, especially when we find ourselves living alone. In a world that pushes the idea that we always need someone around us, living by yourself can feel like you're missing out on something important. But is that really the case? Imagine this. You come home after a long day. It's just you, your thoughts, and the silence. Instead of feeling calm, you feel this wave of loneliness washing over you. You pick up your phone, scrolling aimlessly, hoping to distract yourself from the emptiness inside. Why does being alone sometimes feel so overwhelming, even when we're supposed to be resting? Welcome to Wisdom Woven. In this video, we're going to dive deep into how you can transform that feeling of loneliness into peace and strength using Buddhist wisdom. Living alone doesn't have to be something that drags you down. In fact, it can be a powerful opportunity to grow, discover yourself, and find a deeper sense of happiness. Before we get started, let me ask you this. Have you noticed that there are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% of viewers have subscribed? If you're finding this content valuable, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Wisdom Woven. Your support helps us bring more insights and wisdom to you, and we would love for you to join this growing community. Let's keep this journey going together. Now that we've set the stage, let's dive into the heart of today's discussion. Solitude is something that every single one of us will experience at some point in life. Some people embrace it naturally, while others struggle with the idea of being by themselves. But why does solitude make us uncomfortable? From a Buddhist perspective, solitude isn't a punishment or something to fear. It's a chance to connect with ourselves on a deeper level, away from the noise of the outside world. Buddhism teaches us that one of the main causes of suffering is attachment. We often cling to people, objects, or situations, thinking that they will give us lasting happiness. But the truth is, everything in life is temporary. Relationships, possessions, even our own feelings, they're all constantly changing. When we depend on these external things to feel fulfilled, we set ourselves up for disappointment. That's why, when we're alone, we might feel an unsettling sense of lack. We're no longer distracted by the things we've been relying on for comfort. However, solitude, from a Buddhist point of view, isn't about being isolated or disconnected. It's about recognizing that true peace comes from within, not from anything or anyone outside of ourselves. When you sit in solitude, you're given the opportunity to explore your own mind, to understand your thoughts, feelings, and desires. It's a time for self-reflection, growth, and ultimately, freedom from the constant need for external validation. Take mindfulness, for example. In Buddhism, mindfulness is the practice of being present, of truly experiencing each moment without judgment. When you live alone, mindfulness becomes your greatest tool. You can start by simply paying attention to the present moment. Whether you're eating, cleaning, or even just sitting in silence. Instead of letting your mind wander to thoughts of loneliness or what you don't have, bring your focus to what's happening right now. What do you see, hear, feel? This simple practice can transform how you experience your alone time. Buddhism also reminds us that everything is impermanent, including loneliness. The feelings we have when we're alone, whether they're sadness, anxiety, or even boredom, will pass. They're just temporary emotions, like waves that come and go. By understanding the nature of impermanence, we can stop ourselves from getting stuck in the cycle of negative thinking that often comes with solitude. Another key Buddhist teaching is the idea of emptiness, not in the sense of feeling empty inside, but rather recognizing that things, by themselves, are neither good nor bad. It's our thoughts and judgments that give them meaning. So, if you think living alone is lonely and sad, that's how you'll experience it. But if you start seeing it as a chance for self-discovery and inner peace, your perspective will shift. Living alone gives you the freedom to create your own environment, set your own pace, and spend your time however you choose. It's a chance to reconnect with your inner self, to listen to your own thoughts, and to cultivate a sense of peace that isn't dependent on the presence of others. This doesn't mean you should avoid people or relationships, but rather that you can find joy and contentment even when you're by yourself. As we continue through this series, We'll explore more ways to use Buddhist teachings to turn solitude into something empowering, rather than something to fear. Each moment you spend alone is an opportunity to grow, to find peace, and to discover the strength that comes from within. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and join us as we continue this journey of wisdom and growth. Solitude doesn't have to be lonely. It can be the path to a deeper connection with yourself. Stay tuned for more insights on how to truly embrace living alone with peace and purpose. The power of mindfulness in everyday solitude. You are here again, my friend. Alone with your thoughts, perhaps wondering, how do I find peace in this solitude? The answer, while simple, is not always easy. Mindfulness. Mindfulness, in its essence, is the art of being fully present in each moment. But how does mindfulness help when we are alone? How can it change the way we experience solitude? Let me begin with a simple story. Imagine you are sitting in your home, surrounded by silence. You have no one to talk to, no one to distract you from yourself. As you sit there, your mind starts to race. Thoughts about the past, worries about the future, and even feelings of loneliness start to creep in. You feel restless, uncomfortable. Does this sound familiar? In moments like this, our minds often wander far from the present. We think about all the things we could be doing, or all the people we wish were with us. We distract ourselves with technology, noise, and busy schedules to avoid the discomfort of being alone. But what if, instead of running from it, we learn to be fully present in that solitude? What if we embraced it with mindfulness? Mindfulness is the practice of bringing your full attention to the present moment. It's not about clearing your mind or forcing yourself to be calm. It's about noticing what is happening right now, without judgment. It's about accepting what is, rather than trying to change or escape it. Let's say you're eating a meal by yourself. How often do you actually taste your food? Or are you usually distracted, thinking about something else, maybe scrolling on your phone or watching TV? When we are not mindful, even simple experiences like eating can pass us by without us truly noticing them. But if you bring mindfulness into this moment, something changes. You begin to notice the texture of the food, the flavors, the way it feels in your mouth. You are no longer just eating to pass the time. You are fully experiencing the act of eating. The same goes for any other activity you do alone. Whether you're cooking, cleaning, walking, or just sitting in silence, these can all become opportunities for mindfulness. Instead of letting your mind wander to feelings of loneliness or anxiety, bring your attention back to what is happening right now. What do you hear? What do you feel? What do you see around you? When you practice mindfulness, you realize that being alone is not the problem. It's our thoughts about being alone that cause the discomfort. We label solitude as lonely, boring, or even sad, and those thoughts create our suffering. But through mindfulness, we start to see that these are just thoughts, not facts. We don't have to believe every thought that passes through our minds. Instead, we can observe them, let them go, and return to the present moment. You might be thinking, this sounds nice, but how do I actually do this in my daily life? Let me walk you through a simple exercise you can try right now, even as you sit reading this. First, take a deep breath. Notice the sensation of the air entering your lungs, and then slowly exhale. Do it again, but this time, try to bring your full attention to the feeling of your breath. Feel the cool air as it enters your nose, the way your chest rises and falls. Don't rush, just notice. Now, as you continue to breathe, notice what thoughts are coming to mind. Maybe you're thinking about something that happened earlier today, or worrying about something you need to do later. That's okay. Just notice those thoughts, but don't get caught up in them. Imagine they are like clouds in the sky, drifting by. You don't have to hold on to them or push them away. Just let them pass. After a minute or two, bring your attention back to your breath. Feel the air coming in and going out. Notice how your body feels in this moment. Are your shoulders tense? Is your jaw tight? If you notice any tension, simply relax those areas. Allow yourself to be fully present, just for this moment. This is mindfulness. It's the practice of being aware of what's happening right now, without judgment or distraction. And it's something you can bring into every aspect of your life, especially when you're alone. Let me tell you something important. Solitude is not the enemy. It's in these quiet moments, when you are by yourself, that you can truly connect with your inner self. You see, in the busyness of everyday life, we often lose touch with who we really are. We are constantly reacting to the world around us, to the demands of others, to the noise of the external world. But when we are alone, we have a chance to pause, to reflect, and to listen to ourselves. Buddhist wisdom teaches us that mindfulness is not just a tool for meditation. It is a way of living. It is about bringing awareness to each moment, whether you are sitting quietly in meditation or going about your daily tasks. When you live mindfully, you begin to see the beauty in simple things. You notice the small details that you might have overlooked before. You realize that every moment, no matter how ordinary, has something to offer. For example, think about washing the dishes. Many people see this as a chore, something to get through as quickly as possible. But what if you approached it mindfully? As you wash each dish, feel the warmth of the water on your hands. Notice the sound of the water as it flows from the faucet. Pay attention to the way the soap bubbles form and pop. Instead of rushing through the task, be fully present with it. In this way, mindfulness turns even the most mundane activities into opportunities for peace and presence. And when you practice mindfulness regularly, something amazing happens. Your experience of solitude changes. You no longer feel the need to escape it. You no longer fear being alone with your thoughts. Instead, you begin to enjoy the quiet moments because you realize that they are moments of self-discovery, of peace, of connection with yourself. Now, you may ask, but what about the loneliness I feel when I'm alone? How can mindfulness help with that? Loneliness is a natural human emotion. It comes and goes, just like any other feeling. But what mindfulness teaches us is that we don't have to get stuck in those feelings. When you feel lonely, instead of pushing the feeling away or trying to distract yourself from it, bring mindfulness to it. Notice how loneliness feels in your body. Is there a heaviness in your chest? A tightness in your throat? Simply observe the sensation, without judgment. By doing this, you create space between yourself and the emotion. You see that loneliness, like all emotions, is temporary. It will pass, just as waves rise and fall in the ocean. And in that space of awareness, you find peace. Through mindfulness, you begin to realize that you are never truly alone. Even when there is no one else around, you are still connected to the present moment, to your breath, to the world around you. There is a deep sense of peace that comes from knowing that you are enough, just as you are. You don't need constant company or distraction to feel whole. In fact, it is in solitude that you can reconnect with the truest part of yourself. So, my friend, the next time you find yourself alone, instead of reaching for distractions, pause, take a deep breath. Bring mindfulness to whatever you are doing, whether it's eating, walking, or simply sitting in silence. Notice the present moment, and let go of any judgments or thoughts about being alone. In that space of awareness, you will find the peace that has always been within you. Understanding the impermanence of loneliness. Loneliness. It's something we've all felt at some point, haven't we? That heaviness in the chest, that empty silence when you're alone with no one around. It's uncomfortable, and it can feel never-ending. But here's something to think about. What if I told you that loneliness isn't something that stays forever? What if I told you that, like everything else, it comes and goes, just like the wind? As a Zen master, one of the most important lessons we learn and teach is the truth of impermanence. In simple terms, impermanence means that nothing lasts forever. Nothing. Not joy, not sadness, not excitement, not fear. And most importantly for you right now, not loneliness. We often forget that feelings, like everything else, are temporary. When you're in the middle of feeling lonely, it seems like it will never go away. It feels so heavy, so overwhelming, that you can't imagine a time when you won't feel that way. But remember this, no feeling lasts forever. It's like the weather. One day, it's sunny. The next day, it might rain. But even if it's raining, we know the sun will eventually come back out, don't we? Loneliness works the same way. Now, why do we cling to the idea that we will always feel lonely? That's because of our mind's habit of attaching stories to our emotions. Let's take a simple example. You spend a whole weekend alone. Maybe you invited some friends to hang out, but they were busy. You spend Saturday and Sunday feeling sad and isolated. But instead of simply feeling that sadness and letting it pass, your mind starts to spin stories. I'm always alone. No one cares about me. I'm not important to anyone. This is how my life will always be. But if you look closely, these are just stories. They're not the truth. Your loneliness is not a permanent state of being. It's just a feeling that is passing through you, like a cloud drifting across the sky. You see, the problem isn't the loneliness itself. The problem is that we believe the stories we tell ourselves about it. In Buddhism, we are taught to observe our thoughts and feelings without getting caught up in them. It's like watching a movie. When you watch a movie, you know it's just a story, right? You don't get lost in it and think it's real. You know it's something you're watching and that it will end eventually. Loneliness is the same. It's something you're experiencing, but it's not who you are. It will pass, just like the movie ends. So, how do we deal with loneliness when it shows up? The first step is to stop resisting it. Most of the time, when we feel lonely, we try to run away from it. We distract ourselves with our phones, the TV, or anything else that keeps us from sitting with that feeling. But when we resist our emotions, they only grow stronger. It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. The harder you push it down, the more it wants to pop back up. But if you let go of the ball, it will float on the surface and eventually drift away. The same goes for loneliness. Instead of trying to push it away or distract yourself from it, sit with it. Acknowledge it. I'm feeling lonely right now. You don't have to do anything about it. You don't have to fix it. Just let yourself feel it. In doing so, you allow it to pass through you, rather than getting stuck inside you. Now, this is where the Buddhist concept of mindfulness becomes incredibly helpful. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in the moment, without judgment. When you feel lonely, instead of getting lost in thoughts about why you're lonely or how to make it go away, you simply notice the feeling. You might say to yourself, "This is what loneliness feels like. It feels heavy in my chest. It feels like sadness in my mind." You observe it without attaching a story to it. When you practice mindfulness, you begin to see that your feelings are not as powerful as they seem. They're just passing experiences, and when you stop attaching stories to them, they lose their grip on you. Loneliness becomes just another emotion, like happiness or anger or excitement. It's something that comes and goes, but it doesn't define you. Here's something else to think about. Loneliness often arises because we feel disconnected from others. But in Buddhism, we learn that true connection comes from within. We may feel lonely because we're looking for others to fill a gap inside us. We think that if we have someone by our side, we won't feel lonely anymore. But that's not entirely true. Have you ever been in a room full of people and still felt lonely? That's because loneliness isn't about the number of people around you. It's about the connection you have with yourself. When you practice mindfulness and learn to be with your feelings, you begin to develop a deeper connection with yourself. You start to realize that you are never truly alone. You have your own mind, your own heart, your own presence. And when you connect with that, the need for others to fill that space begins to fade. You become comfortable in your own company. Loneliness no longer feels like an enemy. It becomes a part of life that comes and goes, just like everything else. Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying you should avoid people or relationships. Human connection is important, but the key is to not rely on others to make you feel complete. When you find peace within yourself, your relationships become more fulfilling because you're not looking for them to fill a void. You're sharing your peace with others rather than seeking peace from them. So, the next time you feel lonely, remind yourself of the truth of impermanence. This feeling, like all feelings, will pass. You don't need to fear it or run from it. Sit with it, observe it, and let it move through you. The more you practice this, the less power loneliness will have over you. Remember, loneliness is just a cloud passing through the sky of your mind. It's not the sky itself. The sky is vast, open, and always there, whether the clouds are present or not. And you, like the sky, are always whole, whether loneliness is present or not. In Buddhism, we say that everything is already complete as it is. You are already complete as you are. Loneliness is just a visitor. It comes and it goes. But you, your true self, are always here, unchanging, peaceful, and whole. Let this truth bring you peace the next time you find yourself feeling lonely. Let it remind you that, like all things, this too shall pass. The Buddhist path to inner peace and contentment. My dear friend, let's take a moment together and breathe. In, out. Are you feeling restless inside, searching for something to make you feel at ease? Maybe you think that peace is something that exists outside of you, like a place you can go, a situation that you can find, or a person who will make everything okay. But what if I told you that the peace you seek has always been with you? It's not out there, but right here within you. Buddhism teaches us that inner peace is not something we chase. It's not a prize at the end of a difficult journey. Instead, it's something we uncover, something that has always been inside of us, just waiting to be noticed. When we quiet the mind and learn to live in the present moment, we start to feel that peace naturally. The path to inner peace, as the Buddha showed us, is available to everyone, no matter who you are or where you are. Let's talk about what often stands in the way of this peace: our thoughts and desires. Have you ever noticed how much your mind runs from one thought to another? Maybe you're thinking about what happened yesterday, or worrying about what's coming tomorrow. This constant movement of the mind can feel exhausting, can't it? In Buddhism, we call this the monkey mind. The mind that jumps from one branch to another, never still, always restless. It's no wonder that inner peace feels far away when our minds are so full of noise. The Buddha taught that much of our suffering comes from this restless mind. We're always looking for something more pleasure, more things, more experiences. We think, if only I had this, then I'd be happy. But even when we get what we want, the happiness doesn't last. Soon, we're chasing something else. This endless cycle of wanting more keeps us from feeling content with what we already have. So, how do we break this cycle? How do we find the peace that's already within us? The answer lies in the Buddhist teachings of mindfulness and meditation. First, let's start with mindfulness. Being mindful means paying attention to the present moment, right here, right now, without getting caught up in thoughts about the past or the future. It's about noticing what's happening without judgment. For example, if you're washing the dishes, just wash the dishes. Feel the water on your hands. Notice the sound of the water splashing. Observe the simple act of cleaning each plate. When you bring your full attention to these simple moments, you create space for peace to enter. Mindfulness is not about emptying your mind or making everything perfect. It's about accepting things as they are, without trying to change them. When you live mindfully, you begin to realize that many of the things you thought were problems are just passing moments. The stress, the worries, the desires, they come and go, like clouds moving across the sky. They don't define who you are. Now, let's talk about meditation. Meditation is like a rest for the mind. Just as our bodies need rest after a long day, our minds need rest from the constant stream of thoughts. When you sit quietly and focus on your breath, you give your mind a break from its usual chatter. It doesn't matter if your mind keeps wandering. That's natural. Every time your mind drifts, just gently bring it back to your breath. Over time, this practice helps you feel calmer and more centered, even when life is chaotic. Through meditation, you start to see that your thoughts are just thoughts. They come and go, like leaves floating on a stream. You don't have to chase them or fight them. You can just watch them pass by. And in that space between thoughts, there is peace. There is stillness. But meditation isn't just about sitting on a cushion for a few minutes a day. It's about bringing that calm, focused awareness into your everyday life. When you practice meditation, you start to see the world differently. You realize that peace isn't something you find by changing the outside world. It's something you cultivate within yourself. It's a state of being that you can carry with you, no matter what's happening around you. Now, you might be wondering, what about all the difficult emotions I feel? What do I do with them? Buddhism teaches that emotions like anger, sadness, and fear are a natural part of life. They aren't something to push away or ignore. Instead, we can approach them with curiosity and kindness. When you feel angry or sad, instead of reacting immediately, take a deep breath and ask yourself, what is this feeling trying to tell me? Often, these emotions arise because we are clinging to something, an idea, a desire, or a belief that things should be different than they are. The Buddha taught that clinging is the root of suffering. When we cling to things, whether it's material possessions, relationships, or even ideas about ourselves, we create tension and pain. But when we learn to let go, we open ourselves up to peace. Letting go doesn't mean giving up or not caring. It means accepting things as they are, without trying to control or force them. Think about it this way. Imagine you're holding onto a rope, pulling it as hard as you can. The more you pull, the more your hands hurt. But if you just let go of the rope, the pain disappears. The same is true for our inner peace. When we let go of the need for things to be a certain way, we free ourselves from suffering. Letting go also means accepting that everything in life is impermanent. Nothing stays the same forever. Not our happiness, not our pain, not even our relationships. This might sound sad at first, but it's actually liberating. When we understand that everything changes, we stop clinging to what we have, and we stop fearing what we might lose. Instead, we can appreciate each moment for what it is, without trying to hold on to it. So, how can you start walking the Buddhist path to inner peace and contentment? It's simple. Start small. Begin with mindfulness. Notice the little things in your day, the feeling of the sun on your skin, the sound of birds singing, the taste of your food. Practice being present, even if it's just for a few moments at a time. And make time for meditation, even if it's just a few minutes each day. Sit quietly, focus on your breath, and let your thoughts come and go without getting caught up in them. Over time, you'll find that your mind becomes calmer and your heart feels lighter. Remember, the path to inner peace is not about reaching some distant goal. It's about uncovering the peace that's already within you. The more you practice, the more you'll realize that this peace has always been there. You just needed to slow down and notice it. So, my dear friend, take a deep breath. In and out. Peace is not far away. It's right here, within you. All you need to do is take that first step and trust in the journey, transforming solitude into self-discovery. So you've been living alone for a while now. You've had those moments of silence, those quiet nights, and perhaps even some days when the loneliness felt heavy. But here's something I want you to think about. What if, instead of seeing solitude as something to escape, you saw it as a path to discovering who you really are? In Buddhism, solitude is a powerful tool. It's not a punishment, it's a gift. The world is noisy, and it's easy to get lost in the voices and opinions of others. But when you're alone, truly alone, you have the chance to hear the most important voice of all, your own. Think of solitude like a mirror. When you're constantly surrounded by others, you might reflect what they want to see. You might act in ways that please them, or say things to fit in. But when you're alone, the mirror shows only you. No distractions, no masks. This is when real self-discovery begins. Let's start with something simple. Right now, in your solitude, ask yourself, who am I when no one else is around? When no one is watching or expecting anything from me, what do I truly want? What do I really think and feel? These are questions that many people avoid because they're not easy to answer. But in solitude, you have the space to explore them. Many of us fear being alone because we don't know ourselves. We've spent so much time listening to others that we haven't taken the time to listen to ourselves. Solitude is the perfect opportunity to reconnect with the person you are beneath all the noise. Now, don't rush this. Self-discovery isn't something that happens overnight. It's a gradual process, like peeling away layers of an onion. Each day, as you spend time in solitude, you can learn something new about yourself. Maybe you'll discover talents or interests you didn't know you had. Maybe you'll uncover old wounds or fears that need healing. Whatever it is, this process is an essential part of your growth. Let's talk about mindfulness, a key practice in Buddhism that can guide you on this path. When you live alone, it's easy to fall into routines without thinking. You wake up, eat, work, and sleep, all while your mind is somewhere else. But with mindfulness, you can bring your awareness back to the present moment. And when you do, you start to notice things you may have missed before. For example, next time you sit down to eat, take a moment to really pay attention to the food in front of you. Notice its color, its texture, and its smell. As you take each bite, focus on the taste and how it feels in your mouth. This might seem like a small thing, but it's actually a powerful practice. By being fully present in these little moments, you begin to deepen your connection to yourself. In solitude, mindfulness becomes even more important. Without the distractions of others, you have the chance to truly pay attention to your thoughts, emotions, and sensations. And here's where the real magic happens. When you observe yourself mindfully, without judgment, you start to understand who you really are. Perhaps you've noticed that sometimes when you're alone, your mind races. Thoughts might swirl around, worries, regrets, hopes, or fears. This is natural. The mind is always busy. But with mindfulness, instead of getting lost in these thoughts, you can step back and observe them. You can notice when you're feeling anxious or sad without getting swept away by those emotions. This ability to observe without judgment is a key part of self-discovery. It's like standing on the shore and watching waves crash against the beach. The waves are your thoughts and emotions. They come and go, sometimes gently, sometimes fiercely. But you are not the waves. You are the observer, standing on the shore, calmly watching. This realization is freeing. You begin to understand that your thoughts and emotions don't define you. They are just passing experiences. As you continue to explore your solitude, you'll find that there are parts of yourself that are constant, deeper than any passing thought or feeling. These are the core truths of who you are. In Buddhist teachings, this is often referred to as your Buddha nature, the pure, compassionate, and wise part of yourself that exists beneath all the noise. But discovering this part of yourself takes time. It requires patience and the willingness to sit with yourself, even when it's uncomfortable. Sometimes, when we're alone, uncomfortable feelings rise to the surface. Maybe you feel lonely, or perhaps you're reminded of past mistakes. In these moments, it's tempting to distract yourself, to turn on the TV, grab your phone, or fill the silence with something, anything. But here's the thing. Those uncomfortable feelings are also a part of self-discovery. They are like stones in a river that you need to pick up and examine before you can let them go. Instead of running from these feelings, try sitting with them. Ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? What is this emotion trying to teach me? In Buddhism, every experience, even the difficult ones, can be a teacher. Loneliness, for example, might teach you that you've been relying too much on others for your happiness. Fear might show you that there's something in your life you need to address. Sadness could reveal a part of yourself that needs healing. When you face these feelings with openness and curiosity, rather than fear, you begin to grow. Now, self-discovery isn't just about finding the difficult parts of yourself. It's also about recognizing your strengths, your passions, and your inner beauty. Solitude gives you the chance to explore what truly brings you joy. What activities make you lose track of time? What makes you feel most alive? Maybe you love to paint, write, or play music. Or perhaps you find peace in nature, taking long walks, or simply sitting quietly with a book. Whatever it is, solitude gives you the freedom to explore these passions without judgment or interruption. And as you dive deeper into these activities, you begin to uncover parts of yourself that you might have forgotten or ignored. One of the greatest gifts of solitude is the realization that you are enough. You don't need the constant approval of others to feel good about yourself. You don't need to be surrounded by people to feel worthy. In your solitude, you can discover that everything you need is already within you. In fact, some of the most profound moments of self-discovery happen when you're alone. It's in these quiet moments, when the world is still, that you can hear the whispers of your own soul. And as you listen, you begin to understand who you are and what truly matters to you. So, my friend, embrace this time of solitude. See it not as a burden, but as an opportunity, a chance to discover yourself in ways you never thought possible. Every moment you spend alone is a step on the path to greater self-awareness and inner peace. Remember, the journey of self-discovery is not always easy, but it is always worth it. Each day, as you sit with yourself, you are growing, learning, and becoming more in tune with the deepest parts of who you are. Solitude is not something to fear. It is a gateway to self-discovery, to peace, and to understanding your true nature. And once you've walked this path, you'll find that living alone is no longer lonely. It's a powerful opportunity to connect with the one person who will always be with you, yourself. Overcoming fear and anxiety through meditation. Ah, my dear one, you have come to a place in your journey where fear and anxiety sometimes walk beside you. When you live alone, it can feel as though these shadows grow larger. But remember, these are not enemies to be fought. They are merely visitors to your mind. They knock on the door of your thoughts, and if you invite them in with awareness, you will see that they hold no real power over you. In this part of our journey, let us explore the practice of meditation, not as something far away, difficult to reach, or meant only for monks in the mountains, but as something simple, something for you, right here, right now. Meditation is not about escaping your fears. It is about meeting them with a calm and steady heart. You see, fear arises when we are lost in the unknown, imagining what might happen tomorrow, or next week, or even in the next hour. Anxiety comes when we allow our mind to run wild, creating stories about what is not yet here. But the truth is, my dear one, we are always only here, in this moment. The past is gone, and the future is not yet born. What remains? This moment, right here. Sit with me for a moment. Feel the air around you, the ground beneath you. Close your eyes, if you like, and take a deep breath. Can you feel it? The gentle rise of your chest, the air entering and leaving your body. That is all there is to this moment. It is simple, quiet, and free of fear. When you focus on your breath, your mind settles. The fear that seemed so big before begins to soften, to fade. You realize that the fear lives not in the breath, not in the present, but in the mind's stories about the future. In Buddhism, we have a teaching called shamatha, or calm abiding. This is the practice of simply resting your mind in the present moment. You do not need to push away your thoughts or force your mind to be empty. You simply sit with your breath, and when thoughts of fear or anxiety come, you notice them, acknowledge them, and gently return to your breath. The thoughts may come again, and again you return to the breath. Like waves on the shore, the thoughts rise and fall, but they do not disturb the ocean of your mind. Over time, with practice, you will find that these thoughts lose their grip on you. They come, but they do not stay. Now, I know you may think, but I cannot stop my mind from worrying. It is too strong. That is okay, my dear one. Do not be hard on yourself. The mind has been running wild for a long time, and it takes patience to guide it back to stillness. When you sit in meditation, you are not trying to control the mind. You are simply being with it, watching it, and bringing it gently back to the breath. Slowly, slowly, like a river smoothing the rocks, your mind will begin to settle. One of the great insights of meditation is this: you are not your thoughts. When a thought of fear arises, it is just that, a thought. It is not you. It does not define you. You do not have to believe everything your mind tells you. This is a powerful realization. Once you understand this, you will see that fear is like a cloud passing in the sky. It may seem dark and heavy, but it always passes. And beneath the cloud, the sky of your mind remains clear and untouched. Meditation also teaches us about impermanence. Everything, even fear, is temporary. No feeling lasts forever. When fear comes, it feels as though it will never leave. But just like the breath, it too will pass. When you are in the grip of anxiety, remind yourself, this is only a moment. It will pass. You do not need to fight the fear. You simply observe it, like a bird flying across the sky. It comes, and then it goes. As you practice meditation, you will begin to notice something else as well. There is a space in your mind that is always calm, always at peace. This space is like a quiet pool, untouched by the ripples of fear and anxiety. It is always there, beneath the surface of your thoughts. Meditation helps you to reconnect with this inner stillness, to rest in the part of you that is unshaken by the storms of the mind. My dear one, do not worry if meditation feels difficult at first. It is not about achieving perfection. It is about showing up, sitting with yourself, and being kind to whatever arises. If fear comes, that is okay. If peace comes, that is okay too. The goal is not to get rid of anything, but simply to be present with what is. This is the heart of meditation: presence, awareness, and compassion. In moments of deep anxiety, when your mind feels like it is spinning out of control, remember this: the breath is always with you. No matter where you are, no matter what is happening, you can always return to your breath. It is your anchor, your refuge. Even if you only take one mindful breath, you are already beginning to calm the mind. One breath is enough to bring you back to the present moment. And what is in the present moment? Peace. You may not feel it right away, but it is there, waiting for you. The present moment holds no fear, because fear lives in the future. Right now, in this breath, there is only peace. In Buddhism, we also practice metta, or loving kindness. This is a meditation where we send thoughts of love and compassion to ourselves and others. When you are feeling overwhelmed by fear or anxiety, you can practice metta by silently repeating these phrases. May I be safe. May I be peaceful. May I be free from fear. Repeat these words to yourself as you breathe, and feel the warmth of kindness filling your heart. Over time, you will begin to believe these words, and fear will lose its hold on you. Remember, my dear one, fear and anxiety are not permanent. They are part of the human experience, yes, but they do not define you. Through meditation, you can learn to meet these emotions with calm and compassion, to observe them without being swept away. In time, you will find that you have the strength to face anything, not because the fear has disappeared, but because you have learned to sit with it, to breathe with it, and to let it pass. The path of meditation is a gentle one. It does not require force or struggle. All it asks of you is presence. Each time you sit, each time you breathe mindfully, you are planting the seeds of peace in your heart. And as these seeds grow, fear and anxiety will begin to fade, like mist in the morning sun. Continue your practice, my dear one. Sit with yourself, breathe with yourself, and trust in the power of meditation. The peace you seek is already within you, waiting to be discovered. The middle way, balancing solitude and social connections. In the quiet stillness of solitude, one might seek balance as a way to harmonize the space between being alone and being with others. The middle way, a core teaching of Buddhism, offers us guidance on how to navigate this delicate balance. Let us explore how this wisdom can help us find peace and fulfillment in our relationships and our moments of solitude. Imagine a tightrope walker moving gracefully between two towers. This tightrope walker represents each of us, balancing between two extremes: the need for social connection and the desire for solitude. To walk this rope without falling, one must maintain steady focus and balance. Similarly, in our lives, finding balance between our social interactions and time alone is essential for our well-being. The middle way teaches us that neither extreme, total isolation, nor constant social engagement leads to true happiness. Instead, it is the harmony between these two aspects that allows us to thrive. When we learn to balance our need for companionship with our need for solitude, we create a space where both can coexist peacefully. When we spend too much time alone, we may begin to feel disconnected and lonely. However, if we are constantly surrounded by others, we might feel overwhelmed and unable to connect with our own inner self. The middle way invites us to find a harmonious balance where we can enjoy the company of others while also cherishing our time alone. In practical terms, this means that we should not see solitude as a void to be filled with external activities or distractions. Instead, we should embrace it as a valuable opportunity for self-discovery and reflection. At the same time, we should not avoid social interactions out of fear or discomfort. Instead, we can approach them with openness and mindfulness. Consider the concept of right effort in Buddhism. Right effort is about finding a balanced approach to our actions and intentions. When applied to our social lives in solitude, it means making mindful choices about when to seek out company and when to retreat into our own space. This balance allows us to cultivate meaningful connections with others while also nurturing our own inner peace. As we navigate the middle way, it is important to remember that our needs and preferences may change over time. There will be moments when we crave solitude, and others when we seek the company of friends and family. By being mindful of these changing needs, we can adjust our actions accordingly and maintain a sense of balance. The middle way also encourages us to approach our relationships with a sense of equanimity. This means engaging with others without becoming overly attached or dependent on their presence for our happiness. Instead, we can build connections based on mutual respect and understanding, while also recognizing that our sense of fulfillment ultimately comes from within. In moments of solitude, we can practice mindfulness to connect with ourselves on a deeper level. This practice allows us to observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment, helping us to understand our true nature and find inner peace. When we approach solitude with this mindset, it becomes a source of strength rather than a place of loneliness. When we engage with others, we can bring this same mindfulness into our interactions. By being present and fully engaged in our conversations and activities, we deepen our connections and enhance our relationships. This mindful presence helps us to balance our social needs with our moments of solitude, creating a more harmonious and fulfilling life. The teachings of Buddhism also remind us that everything is impermanent. This includes our relationships and our moments of solitude. By understanding the impermanent nature of these aspects of our lives, we can let go of any attachments or expectations and find peace in the present moment. In essence, the middle way teaches us that balance is not about finding a perfect formula, but rather about cultivating a flexible and mindful approach to our lives. By embracing both solitude and social connections with equanimity and openness, we can create a life that is rich in both inner peace and meaningful relationships. As you continue on your journey of finding balance, remember that the middle way is not a destination but a path. It is a continuous practice of adjusting and realigning ourselves to create harmony in our lives. By staying mindful and present, you can walk this path with grace and find fulfillment in both solitude and social connections. In the stillness of solitude, may you find the strength to seek balance and the wisdom to embrace the middle way. In the company of others, may you connect with openness and joy. And in both, may you discover the true essence of your being and the peace that lies within. Finding joy and gratitude in simple moments. The art of finding joy and gratitude in the simple moments of life. This is a practice that, when embraced, transforms our everyday existence into something profound and fulfilling. Let us begin by examining this idea through the lens of simplicity and mindfulness, as taught by the ancient wisdom of Zen. Imagine a day where the sun rises gently, casting its warm light across your space. You might find yourself sipping a cup of tea or coffee, feeling its warmth in your hands, and noticing its rich aroma. In these simple acts, the sunrise, the warmth of your drink, there lies a deep well of joy. It is in these moments, often overlooked, where the essence of contentment resides. To find joy in such simple things, we must first learn to be present. Presence means immersing ourselves fully in the moment without the distractions of past regrets or future anxieties. When you drink that cup of tea, let your mind focus solely on the experience. Feel the warmth, taste the flavors, and appreciate the moment. This practice of being fully present is what Zen teaches us, to experience life as it is, in its purest form. Gratitude often emerges from this practice of presence. When we are truly present, we notice and appreciate the small gifts that life offers. The sound of birds chirping outside, the gentle rustle of leaves, the smile of a passing stranger. These are not just background noise, but are vibrant parts of our lived experience. By acknowledging and savoring these simple pleasures, we cultivate a sense of gratitude that nourishes our spirit. Zen Master Dogen said, "To be grateful is to know that nothing is separate from you." In other words, when we express gratitude, we are acknowledging our deep connection to the world around us. It's not about having more or achieving greatness. It's about recognizing the beauty and value in what we already have. Each breath we take, each step we make, is a reflection of this interconnectedness. Consider a simple flower growing in a crack of the sidewalk. It might seem insignificant, but its existence is a miracle of nature. In its simplicity, it teaches us about resilience and beauty. When we take a moment to appreciate such small wonders, we align ourselves with the Zen practice of seeing the extraordinary within the ordinary. Finding joy in simple moments also means letting go of the need for more. In our busy lives, we often chase after more success, more possessions, more validation. Yet, true contentment comes not from accumulating more, but from recognizing the richness in what we already possess. By embracing simplicity, we begin to see that the most profound joys are often the simplest. When we live in alignment with these principles, our perception of life changes. Instead of seeing life as a series of tasks to complete or obstacles to overcome, we start to see it as a tapestry of moments to be cherished. This shift in perspective brings with it a deep sense of peace and satisfaction. In Zen, we speak of beginner's mind, an approach to life where we engage with each moment with openness and curiosity, as if for the first time. This mindset allows us to experience joy in the most ordinary experiences. When we approach our daily activities with this freshness, we find that even the mundane can become a source of delight. Joy is not something that can be pursued or obtained. It is something that arises naturally when we are in tune with the present moment. By practicing mindfulness and gratitude, we open ourselves to this natural joy. It is there in the quiet moments of reflection, in the laughter shared with loved ones, and in the simple acts of kindness we offer and receive. As we continue to explore the practice of finding joy and gratitude, remember that each moment is an opportunity to connect with the essence of life. In these moments of presence, we discover that happiness does not lie in grand achievements or future aspirations, but in the here and now. Embrace each day with a sense of wonder and appreciation. Let the small moments of life become your greatest teachers. By doing so, you will find that joy is not a distant goal but a constant companion, available to you in every breath, every glance, and every touch. Practicing compassion and kindness while living alone. In the quiet of your solitude, you may find yourself reflecting deeply on your own thoughts and feelings. Yet, even in moments of stillness, there lies a profound opportunity. The chance to practice compassion and kindness. Compassion is not merely a feeling. It is a practice, a way of being that starts from within and radiates outward, touching everything and everyone around us. Imagine your solitude as a garden. In this garden, the seeds of compassion and kindness are not always visible, but they are always growing. Each act of kindness, no matter how small, is like watering these seeds. With patience and care, they bloom into a beautiful landscape of warmth and understanding. When you live alone, it's easy to focus on yourself and perhaps even become overwhelmed by your own needs and desires. But true compassion begins when we turn our attention to others, even if we are physically alone. It starts with a simple yet profound shift, recognizing that the essence of compassion is not dependent on being around others, but on how we treat ourselves and the world around us. In Buddhism, compassion is known as karuna. It is the quality of deep empathy and a genuine wish to alleviate the suffering of others. This practice is not reserved for those who are constantly surrounded by people. It is equally important when you are by yourself. When you cultivate compassion in your own heart, you are preparing yourself to offer it to others. Begin with self-compassion. This means being gentle with yourself, acknowledging your own struggles and pain without judgment. When you live alone, there may be times when you feel particularly vulnerable or critical of yourself. Recognize these moments as opportunities to practice kindness. Speak to yourself as you would to a dear friend. Encourage yourself, support yourself, and remind yourself that you are worthy of love and understanding. Consider this. When you catch yourself in a negative thought or self-criticism, pause for a moment. Imagine these thoughts as clouds passing through the sky of your mind. They come and go, and they do not define you. Gently shift your focus to something positive about yourself. This simple act of kindness towards yourself builds the foundation of compassion that can extend to others. Now, let's turn our attention outward. Even if you are alone, you can find countless ways to practice kindness. Start with small, daily actions. It could be something as simple as a smile to a passerby, holding the door open for someone, or offering a kind word to a friend. These acts may seem minor, but they are like small ripples in a pond, spreading warmth and goodwill far beyond their initial point of contact. Buddhism teaches that all beings wish to be happy and free from suffering. When you extend your kindness, you are acknowledging this shared desire. You are recognizing that despite physical separation, we are all connected through our common experiences of joy and suffering. Each act of compassion, no matter how small, strengthens this connection and brings us closer to understanding our shared humanity. While living alone, it can be particularly rewarding to engage in acts of kindness that do not require direct interaction with others. Write a heartfelt letter to a loved one, donate to a cause you care about, or volunteer your time and skills. These actions contribute to a sense of purpose and fulfillment, even in the absence of direct social contact. Furthermore, Buddhism encourages us to practice metta, or loving kindness meditation. This practice involves silently repeating phrases of goodwill and compassion towards yourself and others. In your solitude, You can dedicate a few minutes each day to this practice. Start by wishing yourself happiness, health, and peace. Gradually extend these wishes to others, including friends, family, and even those you may find challenging. This meditation helps to soften your heart and fosters a deeper sense of connection and empathy. Remember, compassion and kindness are not just actions but attitudes. They begin with a genuine desire to help and understand others. As you practice these qualities in your own life, you create a ripple effect that extends beyond your immediate surroundings. The kindness you cultivate within yourself can inspire and uplift those around you, even if they are not physically present. Living alone provides a unique opportunity to deeply explore and nurture these qualities. Use this time to reflect on how you can be kinder to yourself and others. Let your solitary moments become a wellspring of compassion that enriches your own life and touches the lives of those around you. As you continue on this path, remember that each act of kindness is a step towards a more compassionate and fulfilling life. Solitude is not a barrier but a gateway to understanding and practicing the profound truths of kindness and compassion. Embrace this journey with an open heart, and let the seeds of compassion you plant today grow into a beautiful, blossoming garden that enhances your own life and the lives of others. Releasing attachments, freedom in solitude. In the quietude of solitude, there lies a profound truth. Our attachments are the roots of our suffering. When we live alone, we are presented with a unique opportunity to confront and understand these attachments. They are the invisible threads that bind our hearts and minds, often leaving us feeling trapped and unfulfilled. Imagine for a moment that you are a leaf floating on a serene lake. The water is calm, and the gentle ripples of the breeze create a soft dance beneath you. Now, what happens when you cling tightly to the branches of a tree, refusing to let go? The leaf struggles, it fights against the natural flow, and it becomes entangled. This is akin to our attachments. They restrict our freedom, making it difficult for us to experience the fullness of life. Buddhism teaches us that attachment is a source of suffering. When we are attached to something, we are placing our happiness in the hands of the impermanent. Whether it is a person, an object, or a particular outcome, these things are transient. They come and go, just like the leaf on the lake. Our happiness, therefore, becomes unstable, depending on the whims of external forces. In solitude, we are given the space to observe these attachments closely. Without the constant presence of others or the distractions of daily life, we can start to see where our minds have latched on, where we seek comfort, validation, or security. This space is a gift. It allows us to recognize how our attachments shape our experience of being alone. Consider this. When we are alone, our minds often turn to what is missing, to what we desire. We might long for companionship, for approval, or for a particular outcome in our lives. But in the stillness, we can begin to see that these desires are not our true selves. They are layers of expectation and longing that obscure our inner peace. By acknowledging them, we can start to let go. The practice of letting go does not mean we stop caring, or that we become indifferent. It means we recognize the nature of our attachments and choose not to let them control our happiness. Like a painter who steps back from a canvas to see the whole picture, we learn to see our desires and attachments in a broader context. They are not the essence of who we are. They are simply experiences passing through our lives. A Zen master might say, "To hold a flower too tightly is to crush its delicate beauty. To let it be is to appreciate its fragrance." Similarly, when we release our tight grip on attachments, we allow ourselves to experience the true essence of life. Solitude offers us the opportunity to practice this letting go. In our moments alone, we can observe our thoughts and feelings without judgment. We can watch as they arise and pass away, like clouds drifting across the sky. In letting go, we embrace the concept of impermanence. Everything in life is fleeting: emotions, relationships, and even our own thoughts. By accepting this, we free ourselves from the suffering that comes from clinging to the transient. Solitude becomes a space where we can practice this acceptance, where we can cultivate a sense of inner freedom that is not dependent on external circumstances. Solitude teaches us that true freedom comes from within. When we release our attachments, we are not giving up on life. Rather, we are freeing ourselves to fully experience it. We learn to appreciate the moments of stillness, to find joy in simplicity, and to discover a sense of peace that is not tied to any particular outcome. As we continue this journey, remember that the practice of letting go is not a one-time event but a continual process. Each moment alone is an opportunity to observe, to understand, and to release. It is in this ongoing practice that we find the true freedom of solitude. So, in the quiet moments of your life, when you find yourself alone, take a deep breath and let go. Let go of your attachments, your desires, and your fears. Embrace the freedom that comes from within, and you will discover that solitude is not a burden but a path to inner peace and fulfillment. Conclusion: the ultimate strength of living alone with purpose. In the stillness of your own company, have you ever felt a profound silence that seems to echo through the corridors of your mind? This silence is not emptiness. It is the quiet strength that comes from within. When you live alone, you have the rare opportunity to explore this inner silence and find a deeper connection to your own true nature. Let us reflect on what we have learned throughout this journey. Solitude is not a curse, but a profound teacher. In our busy, often chaotic world, being alone can seem daunting. Yet, when you embrace solitude, you are stepping into a sacred space where you can truly meet yourself. It is in this quiet space that you can discover the true essence of your being. Buddhist teachings remind us that life is a cycle of constant change. Nothing is permanent. This understanding can transform how you experience living alone. Your moments of loneliness, sadness, or even boredom are temporary. They are like passing clouds in the vast sky of your mind. Embrace them as they come and go, knowing that they will eventually drift away, revealing the clear blue sky of your inner peace. Living alone offers you a unique opportunity to practice mindfulness. Each moment alone is a chance to be fully present, to savor the simplicity of your surroundings. When you eat, pay attention to each bite. When you walk, feel the ground beneath your feet. When you sit in silence, notice the rhythm of your breath. By embracing mindfulness, you turn your solitude into a rich tapestry of experiences, each moment adding depth to your life. In Buddhism, the concept of emptiness teaches us that things do not possess inherent meaning. Our perceptions and judgments give them their value. When you are alone, the feelings of loneliness or emptiness are not intrinsic to the state of being alone. They are the result of how you interpret your solitude. By changing your perspective, you can transform these feelings into opportunities for self-discovery and growth. Consider the practice of self-compassion. When you are alone, it is easy to be critical of yourself. But Buddhism encourages us to treat ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would offer to a dear friend. When you are alone, speak to yourself with gentleness. Recognize your worth and acknowledge your efforts. By nurturing yourself in this way, you build a foundation of inner strength and self-love. The middle way, a central teaching in Buddhism, advocates for balance in all things. This principle can guide you in balancing your solitude with your social interactions. Living alone does not mean you must isolate yourself. It means you have the freedom to choose when and how to connect with others. By finding this balance, you can enjoy the best of both worlds, the peace of solitude and the joy of meaningful connections. Gratitude is another powerful tool. When you live alone, it is easy to focus on what you lack. Instead, shift your focus to what you have. Be grateful for the quiet moments, the space to reflect, and the freedom to make your own choices. Gratitude transforms your perspective, allowing you to see your solitude as a gift rather than a burden. Remember that the journey of self-discovery is ongoing. Living alone provides the space to continually explore who you are, to understand your desires and fears, and to grow into your best self. This journey is not about escaping from others, but about deepening your relationship with yourself. It is about finding peace and strength within, regardless of external circumstances. As we conclude this exploration of living alone through the lens of Buddhist wisdom, remember that you have the power to transform your solitude into a source of strength and joy. Embrace this time as an opportunity to connect with your true self, to practice mindfulness, and to cultivate a deep sense of peace. Your solitude is not a void but a canvas upon which you can paint the portrait of your own inner peace and fulfillment. It is a place where you can build resilience, practice self-compassion, and experience the freedom that comes from understanding the impermanence of all things. So, as you continue on your path, carry with you the insights and practices we have explored. Let them guide you in finding the ultimate strength that comes from living alone with purpose. Embrace each moment of solitude as a precious opportunity for growth and self-discovery. And remember, the journey is as important as the destination. Thank you for joining us on this journey with Wisdom Woven. If you found this series valuable, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support means the world to us and helps us continue to bring you more wisdom and insights. May your path be filled with peace, purpose, and the profound strength that comes from within.